So let's bring in James Rapien. He's all Bengals all the time, whether it's his podcast or whether it's for Sports Illustrated. He's got lots going on. James, how are you, my man? Missed you early in the week. Ready to go tonight?
I'm well, Tom. Yeah, I'm all set, ready for a late night. Certainly excited. We'll see if the Bengals can get to 500.
What will you do after the game tonight? Are you in the locker room? Are you doing stuff on the field? What are you doing?
Locker room, press conference room to start. I'll certainly have videos from the field, a podcast from one of the available booths that I can find at Paycor. So it's going to be all of the above. That doesn't include the writing too. So these primetime games, they're late nights, but they're a lot of fun, and obviously fans are excited. So I am too.
All right, let's start with DJ Reader. We've heard it said, you've heard it said, you've talked to the guys yourself. A lot of people feel like he is not only an outstanding player, has been even before he came to the Bengals. When he's healthy, he's just an outstanding player. But apparently he is a major force inside that locker room and the way guys look at him and respect him. One, do you have any idea how long he might be out? Two, and for today, more importantly, what does this mean for the Cincinnati Bengals defense?
Well, yeah, let's start with how long he could be out. Wouldn't shock me at all if we don't see him until after the bye. So that would be six games. Then you have a bye. So you give him 7 weeks. And then he comes back that 8th week and is good to go. They're certainly not going to rush him back. I think they feel blessed that he's not out for the season, because there were certainly some scary hours in there where they thought there was a chance that they'd be without him. And he's playing as well as any nose tackle in the NFL. Like, he's never been a Pro Bowler. That's a joke to me anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, he's playing at an all-pro level. So it's a huge loss. And so when it comes to tonight, the Dolphins don't run the ball a ton, or at least they haven't in the first 3 weeks. So they probably wouldn't have with DJ Reader in the middle there. But the thing that Reader's been doing this year, and he's done it throughout his Bengals tenure in his last year with the Texans, but he's getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks from that nose tackle spot, which is such a cherry on top when you're talking about getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. You're not banking on your nose tackle to do that traditionally, but that's how Reader's been playing. So it's a huge loss. But for a matchup like tonight, especially on a short week, I don't think it's as big of a loss as it would be if it were the Ravens, if it were the Browns, if it were some of these run-first teams that are going to start with the run, end with the run, and sprinkle in some passes. It's kind of the opposite with the Dolphins. They like to pass it. They like to find a way to get the ball to Tua, or Tua to get the ball to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. So I do think that there's no ideal matchup without DJ Reader. You want him out there every game. But this game, it shouldn't hurt them as bad as it would other weeks.
Okay, so what guy or guys, what names should we know they're going to step in there and try to fill those shoes?
A lot of people have been talking about go out and get this free agent or that free agent. Well, if you remember, Tom, on cutdown day, the Bengals claimed, and they were shocked, but they were awarded 3 players.
Right.
2 of which were active for the first time last week. And Devin Asiasi, third-year tight end, drafted by the Patriots. He kind of fills in for Drew Sample. And then Max Sharping, the guard, who he's the reason Jackson Carman was inactive against the Jets. Well, the third guy is going to be active tonight in J. Tufele. And he's a defensive tackle that they really liked. Coming out, he got drafted by Jacksonville, 4th rounder, some weird regime changes in the Urban Meyer stuff and everything that happened there. He gets cut, and the Bengals scooped him up. And so that's who they're banking on. They'll bank on him, B.J. Hill, obviously, who you mentioned, Josh Tupou, and then it's going to be a bunch of young guys, rotating in and out there, in Zach Carter, Cam Sample, Joseph Osai. So I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how Lou Anarumo uses this rotation of defensive linemen. But none of these guys are Reader. And so I think he's going to have to tweak his defense in general. And tonight's the first night we'll get to see that. So they're obviously worse. I think he's their best defensive player, including Trey Hendrickson, is DJ Reader. But J. Tufele is the guy that we'll see suit up tonight for the first time.
Okay. The pass rush, I think, look all the years doing football, outside of being able to protect your own quarterback, the flip side of that, I'm not so sure the most important part of football is being able to pressure the other team's quarterback regularly through the course of a game. Mm-hmm. And all the arteries then off of that primary vein, where if you're forcing somebody to react under pressure, constant pressure, how do they react? Some guys handle it better than other guys. Tua can move around a little bit. Much more so, obviously, than Joe Flacco or Cooper Rush. Mitchell Trubisky moves around pretty good. But this guy tonight can move around a little bit. Now, he's got a bad back. Hendrickson's coming off the game, great game, last week. Maybe his best game as a pro against the New York Jets. I've asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you this again. Do you feel like these other guys who are going to get some playing time, you mentioned the pressure Reader was applying, do you feel like there's somebody there? Sam Hubbard will show it from time to time, but is there somebody there who's going to give them a bona fide addition in terms of pressuring the quarterback of all the guys they've got that are going to be in there in the game?
That's a necessity tonight, Tom, because as good as Trey Hendrickson was, and it might have been his best game of his career, not just as a Bengal, in week 3 against the Jets with the 2.5 sacks, 3 strip sacks or forced fumbles, whatever you want to say. He's facing Teron Armstead, who's a top 2 or 3 left tackle in the NFL. Is really, really good. Hasn't practiced this week. He's going to play tonight for the Dolphins. Was their big free agent addition, and he shut down Von Miller last week. So can they find a way to get Hendrickson matched up on other guys? Can Hendrickson maybe win with his speed-power combo against Armstead? Maybe, but someone else is going to have to get pressure. And so to me, this is where the Sam Hubbards, the Joseph Osai's, if there's a week for Osai to get some pressure and make an impact, he's had 3 weeks now of regular season action. He didn't play much in the preseason. Last year, he missed his entire rookie year. Now's the time on a short week where you want him to make an impact. Now's the time where you want Sam Hubbard at home, white out, new helmets, Cincinnati native, all of those things for him to make an impact. And so someone needs to step up. And could it be a Zachary Carter as a rookie? Will it be one of these other interior linemen? I'm not sure. I would look to a veteran in Sam Hubbard and someone in Joseph Osai that the Bengals were certainly banking on coming into the year of getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. But you're right. They have to make Tua uncomfortable, because if he's not uncomfortable, someone's going to be open. Mm-hmm. You can only guard for so long. And Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they run like track stars, but they play like receivers. They can catch, they can run, they have great routes. I mean, they're freaks. So it's going to be tough to contain them.
The Eli Apple has not taken the bait this week, has he? From Tyreek Hill. I think it surprises a few of us who have become well aware, even going back to his days at Ohio State, that Eli Apple can talk trash with the best of them. There's no doubt about it. But right at the end of the last game, when Miami beats Buffalo, and some of the reporters go to Tyreek Hill and start asking him about the upcoming game against Cincinnati, I mean, he's right at it with Eli Hill and Eli Apple and laying it out there on the table. You surprised he hadn't taken the bait?
I'm proud of him for not taking the bait. I'm not I surprised. I'm not sure. But Eli, the one thing that he's done is he's talked after he's performed. And I don't love all the Twitter stuff. And I was kind of critical of that this offseason. And I think that might have cost him more money in the open market and with the Bengals. He signed that 1-year, $4 million deal. So to me, the fact that he was quiet, if he goes out there and performs tonight, yeah, if you want to send a tweet or two or you want to say something to Hill after the game, that's fine. But perform first. And so I like that he waited. As much fun as it would be for him to hold court and do the whole thing that Tyreek, he owes me. Well, we'll see. That's why I tackled you on the 1 yard line. I mean, there's plenty of things he could say, right? And he didn't. So proud of him there. I think that was a smart business decision for a variety of reasons. And if he goes out and plays well tonight, I certainly think we'll talk to him in the locker room. But I am a bit surprised. You're right. I'm a bit surprised that he hasn't said anything.
James, looking back, and you go back and watch, game film and all that kind of stuff on a regular basis, and turning back the clock. I've said on this show a number of times just in 3 weeks on the air that the single greatest athlete I have ever seen in any sport is Tyreek Hill. I had a chance to do a couple of Chiefs games, and just watching him run around, I've never seen anybody like him. What was it that the Bengals did, if anything, to him that slowed him down in the second half of both of the Bengals' victories last year, including the AFC Championship?
They dared the Chiefs to run the ball, and they essentially double-teamed Kelsey. They double-teamed Hill, and they said, our pressure is going to get there before these guys get open, and we're going to dare you to run the ball, and we're going to take everything else away, essentially. And the Chiefs didn't have that third reliable weapon. And so they were able to. And that's not going to work tonight. It's not the same. Tyreek Hill's the same. But this Dolphins offense is different. First off, Tua is not Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to make those off-platform throws and throw on a frozen rope 65 yards down the field or 55 yards down the field. And so you have to take into consideration that element, because Tua's comfortable dinking and dunking. And he'll do that, and he's pretty good at it. So I think that we're going to see a hybrid of what Lou Anarumo did against the 49ers and Mike McDaniel, who was their offensive coordinator last year, and then the Chiefs last year as well, facing Tyreek Hill. Because they have two guys that are speedsters. You have Mike Gesicki at tight end, and it's going to be a delicate balance where, you don't want to get beat deep. But Jalen Waddle doesn't need to go deep to beat you. He's second in the NFL in yards after catch. He can catch a bubble screen and take it 15 yards. And it can be that type of game, and you don't want that to happen either. So I think tackling in the open field one-on-one is as big of a question mark and as big of an emphasis this week as it is making sure you take away the deep shots.
See, that's what you get from James Rapien on the show. I mean, that's a great point. And the more and more you watch football, those guys that can make tackles when they're there to be made. And look, trying to tackle a guy with a little bit of space like Waddle or like a Hill, that is a tall order. But if you're right there in a position to make that play, you got to make it. Brandon, did you have a question for Mr. Rapien?
Yeah, first one, how much do you miss me on game days?
Wow.
That's a loaded question. It'd be like asking my wife how much does she miss me when I'm out of town. And I don't want to ask the question because I don't like the answer. It's like a good attorney. That's a stupid question.
No, I got a real question. All right. The stuff you talked about Twitter stuff. So I'll ask you this, since you're a big UC guy like me, and I really want to steal the helmet behind you. The Dolphins practicing yesterday. It was funny watching Miami's Twitter. Like their fans' Twitter, because they have no concept of where they practiced at. And they just knew it was a college football stadium. You and I both know that is the most crowded place on campus. You can walk in and out anytime. There's buildings all around, whether it be TUC, the Linder Center, whatever there is. There's they had so many other options. I get the point of, not supposed to be filming NFL practices. That's something you and I have, been on the front lines of. You're not supposed to do certain periods, all that stuff. But were you shocked to see Twitter lose its mind yesterday on that?
I wouldn't say shocked, because Twitter loses its mind over a lot of things. I would say this. Zach Taylor could have been at that walkthrough, and I don't know how much he would have gained, right? I mean, these Thursday games, they're not practicing anyway. I mean, the Bengals didn't truly practice this week, and the Dolphins sure as heck didn't after that 90-degree or 100-degree or whatever it was, 90-snap day that they had to deal with, even though they're used to the heat. But I get why people were, because they don't have the concept. Like, how are people getting this film? How are they? I get that, but they knew it going in that they were going to practice there. And so I think it was more, hey, let's just get some mental reps in. We're not going to show too much, and we'll call it a day.
Well, something teams have done in the past, and they come in early, or Tom and I were talking off the air, bowl games for college teams. I've known multiple teams that have played the Bengals that have practiced in Northern Kentucky at a high school the day before, if they had to come in early or it's hot wherever they're something like that. Were you surprised they were practicing at UC and not somewhere like a high school?
Yes, so that's the part that does surprise me is you're playing at a really high end D1 football field in the middle of campus. I mean, what do you expect? No one to notice? You could have found a high school where no one would have noticed, and maybe someone would have tweeted something out, but it would have been the same field, the same dimensions. It wouldn't have hurt anything, but it is a quick ride. Maybe they didn't want to deal with traffic or something like that getting across the bridge. Who knows? But yeah, it's quite interesting, and I am curious. That is a storyline tonight. How the Dolphins have dealt with a lot this week, from the hurricane to the quick turnaround, all of those things, the emotional game of Buffalo. Do they start a little slow tonight? That's a question, and certainly something the Bengals might be able to take advantage of.
Well, we had Grant Napier on the other day, who follows a team from down in South Florida, and he thought if there was ever a time to quote-unquote catch the Dolphins, this would be the time, based on the things you talked about, and especially the weather conditions and the climate in the game where the defense was on the field for 40 out of 60 minutes and 90-something plays and all that kind of thing. So we'll see. Couple of quick injury updates, James. Anything to report on Collins, Mixon, Higgins, any or all the above?
Good to go. Thumbs up. Collins told me he would play on Sunday, that he'd play tonight, and I believe it. I think they're just kind of giving him as much rest as possible so he can be as close to 100%. I think Mixon's nicked up, but good to go. Higgins the same. He'll be good to go tonight.
What about Pratt? Good to go?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think he was close last week, and he practiced Thursday, and they were surprised about how the knee responded in a negative way. So they gave him that week 3 game off, but I do anticipate him playing. We'll see for sure. Not as certain on him as those other guys, but I do think he'll suit up.
All right, last couple of things I want to ask you about before we get out of here. Tua and Burrow went toe-to-toe in a couple of huge games in college. They played in the same half of a conference in the same division, LSU and Alabama. Burrow ultimately got the last laugh in 2019, leading LSU to the national championship and the win in the national championship. Is there, and then there was the whole draft drama. Which one are you going to take? Which one do you like better? The whole 9 yards. Do you sense that there is a personal rivalry here, or is that something that the rest of us are making something out of nothing?
I think it's something that everybody's making, the rest of us are making it out of nothing, at least for Burrow. I can't speak to Tua, never chatted with him personally. If I was drafted behind Burrow, I'd want to compete with him. If I'm Herbert, I'd feel the same way too, right? So I'm sure deep down there's some of that. At the same time, for Burrow, I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, he was in my draft class. He's a good quarterback. And he would probably leave it there and say, I got to play my game. So I don't really think he looks at Tua as a rival. He might have when he was still proving himself in 2019 when they had to go into Tuscaloosa, and it was that wild game, which is just wild to look back at, about all the stars that were on that field. Sure. And star power. But yeah, I don't think that that's the case going into tonight.
Okay, last thing is the whole whiteout thing. I think this is a great idea. What do you think about it? What's been the? I know Burrow made the comment the other day about he'd play in garbage bags or something to that effect. It doesn't matter, but look, when you got something different, and the MO of young people today, and we forget these are young men, very very young men, that are playing this game. I would imagine that they probably think it's pretty cool, right?
For sure. No, I do. I think that, and Burrow probably does too. But I like the messaging there, because the pressure's on the Bengals to win tonight. And so why make it about the white helmets when they got to get to 2-2, because 1-3, it's rough sledding. So yeah, I like the message from Burrow, but overall I was talking to guys last week because they practiced in those helmets and they're excited about it. They like the helmets. And I think that, they were just more concerned about getting used to a new helmet. As you know, players are very used to what they are, and it's like, man, all right, this is our first practice in these helmets. So yeah, I do. I think that they're excited about it, and fans are certainly excited about it. And what a way to welcome in Thursday Night Football, the Ring of Honor, them with a white helmet as well. Do
you think ultimately that Willie Anderson gets in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I do, and I think tonight has a big part of that, and I think that honestly might be why he's, fans voted for him into the Ring of Honor now. Not that he didn't deserve it, but you could make the case for a lot of guys, and so, but Willie has the best chance of making the Hall, and so show everyone how proud you are of him and celebrate his career here locally, so everyone else is aware of it. And so it brings that to the surface. So I think there's enough now social media push and fan uproar and awareness that even though he got buried because he was on some bad Bengals teams and even some teams that 05 on probably, 06, 07 underachieved a bit. But even though he was on some bad teams, I think he got overlooked early. Shouldn't be the case anymore, especially after tonight when he goes into the Ring of Honor.
Have you had a chance to speak with Isaac Curtis since he got into town? I know he spends a lot of time here, but I think primarily now lives in California, if I'm not mistaken. But he's here back and forth quite a bit. Have you had a chance to see him? I mean, you're busy covering the team. He's busy with different events since he got into town, that kind of thing.
Unfortunately, no, I haven't. I look forward to seeing him tonight. I wasn't able to get there yesterday for the Ring of Honor event, but I saw him on Zoom when he, late July before camp when it was announced. But unfortunately, I haven't talked to him in person yet.
Well, he's the best. I mean, golly day, what a classy guy, and it's such a. I mean, everybody's wrapped up naturally with the team and a big game and trying to get to 2-2 But I've been around enough of these things with the Reds and some other places where when these guys get honored in such a way like they are tonight. This is an enormous deal in their lives, and you're so excited for both of them because they both have carried themselves with such incredible grace and class, and you're proud to have them represent your franchise even now.
Yeah, the reason I'm so excited that they have a Ring of Honor in general is because growing up in Cincinnati and following the team and being a fan of the team, I wasn't aware of the past as much. Now, I remember the non-internet days, all right? So I'm aging myself a little bit. So now you can Google things and look things up quickly and not have the dial-up, AOL free trials and all that stuff.
I'm still on AOL. Quit beating up AOL. I don't want to interrupt you anymore. All the old guys still have AOL. Troy Aikman and me, and I don't mean to name drop there, but Johnny Bench
Brent
yesterday.
Musburger, I think, has
it's all AOL guys, and you guys, all you do is dump all over us for having AOL.
Well, there you go. So, but that's my point. That's my point, right?
I know.
Now the 8-year-old who would have no clue who Isaac Curtis is, because why would you, is going to know who Isaac Curtis is. And in 10 years, people are going to know Willie Anderson, even if you never saw him play. I mean, there are fans now that became a fan of the Bengals in 2013 because they liked A.J. Green or they thought that the Red Rifle was a cool nickname. They don't remember Willie Anderson. Well, now they'll learn about him. So I think that part is pretty cool and is something that is good to see, given the state of the franchise and the fact that they didn't have one when I was growing up.
Yeah, you're right. It's great stuff, and we're excited for both of them. We're excited about the game. Prediction, James, before we let you go?
I think it's going to be a tight one. I do. I think that the Dolphins have certainly played.
He doesn't do this. I know James. He doesn't do scores.
James.
Oh, I'm going to give a score.
Oh,
all right. Okay. All right. I thought you were giving me your straight down the middle. Lord knows these two guys I'm working with every day, and they dragged me to the bottom of singing Cincinnati Bengals, singing that song on the air before the season opener. What very little reputation I had left went straight down the drain after that. So, James, please continue on your prediction. Going to be a tight one, so you were saying.
It's going to be a tight one. If you look at what the Dolphins have done this year, it seems like they're always playing in close games. The Bengals, outside of last week, Joe Burrow's last 7 starts were all decided, in the final minute, and it goes down to the wire. So I think that's going to be the case tonight. But the Bengals are more desperate. They looked at this week 3 and week 4 as kind of like a 2-game pack following that Dallas loss. It wasn't, we got to just go beat the Jets behind the scenes. They said that, but it was, got to beat the Jets. 4 days later, got to handle business on Thursday Night Football. And so I don't think that until they complete that they're going to feel, not that they'll be satisfied, but I'll use the word satisfied. Meanwhile, the Dolphins are coming off an emotional win over the team that everyone crowned Super Bowl champs. So I think the Bengals win 30-27. Evan McPherson with the game winner, and Joe Burrow throws for a bunch of yards, because if the Bengals are going to win, they're going to have to throw it tonight.
All right. Well, they better protect him if he's going to throw it. James, thank you so much for your time. I don't mean to beat you up a little bit and put you in the same category as Casey and Brandon, so please forgive me.
I'm fine with Casey, but Brandon, man, if you're going to put me in that category, then.
All right.
Your reputation precedes you, Brandon. I mean, look.
Hey, you enjoy those Gold Star cheese conies at halftime.
I will. No doubt. Throw a little extra hot sauce on it for you.
All right.
Thank
you
you.
Go. There you go.
I like that.
James, thanks for your time. Have fun tonight, my friend.
See you. Thank you.
Okay. James Rapien, kind enough to join us every week here on the program. We really appreciate having him on. He's busy and he has other things to do, a lot more important than this show, but we appreciate him taking the time to do it.